indicates a kind heart and an obliging disposition, as well as kindly feelings in actual exercise. We can say of one usually good-natured, "On that occasion he did not meet me with a pleasant face." Pleasant, in the sense of gay, merry, jocose, the sense still retained in pleasantry, is now rare, and would not be understood outside of literary circles. Compare amiable, comfortable, delightful. Antonyms: arrogant, austere, crabbed, disagreeable, displeasing, dreary, forbidding, gloomy, glum, grim, harsh, hateful, ill-humored, ill-natured, offensive, repellent, repelling, repulsive, unkind, unpleasant. Prepositions: pleasant to, with or toward persons, about a matter. Plentiful. Synonyms: abounding, abundant, adequate, affluent, ample, bounteous, bountiful, complete, copious, enough, exuberant, full, generous, large, lavish, liberal, luxuriant, overflowing, plenteous, profuse, replete, rich, sufficient, teeming. Enough is relative, denoting a supply equal to a given demand. A temperature of 70 degrees Fahrenheit is enough for a living room. Of 212 degrees, enough to boil water. Neither is enough to melt iron. Sufficient, from the Latin, is an equivalent of the Saxon enough, with no perceptible difference of meaning, but only of usage, enough being the more blunt, homely, and forcible word, while sufficient is in many cases the more elegant or polite. Sufficient usually precedes its noun. Enough usually and preferably follows. That is ample, which gives a safe, but not a large, margin beyond a given demand. That is abundant, affluent, bountiful, liberal, plentiful, which is largely in excess of manifest need. Plentiful is used of supplies, as of food, water, etc., as a plentiful rain, Psalm 68:9. We may also say a copious rain, but copious can be applied to thought, language, etc., where plentiful cannot well be used. Affluent and liberal both apply to riches and resources, liberal with a special reference to giving or expending. Compare synonyms for adequate. Affluent, referring especially to riches, may be used of thought, feeling, etc. Neither affluent, copious, nor plentiful can be used of time or space. A field is sometimes called plentiful, not with reference to its extent, but to its productiveness. Complete expresses not excess or overplus, and yet not mere sufficiency, but harmony, proportion, fitness to a design or ideal. Ample and abundant may be applied to any subject. We have time enough means that we can reach our destination without haste, but also without delay. If we have ample time, we may move leisurely, and note what is by the way. If we have abundant time, we may pause to converse with a friend, to view the scenery, or to rest when weary. Lavish and profuse imply a decided excess, oftenest in the ill sense. We rejoice in abundant resources, and honor generous hospitality. Lavish or profuse expenditure suggests extravagance and wastefulness. Luxuriant is used especially of that which is abundant in growth, as a luxuriant crop. Antonyms: deficient, drained, exhausted, impoverished, inadequate, insufficient, mean, miserly, narrow, niggardly, poor, scant, scanty, scarce, scrimped, short, small, sparing, stingy, straitened. Preposition: plentiful in resources. Poetry. Synonyms: meter, metrical composition, numbers, poem, posy, rhyme, song, verse. Poetry is that form of literature that embodies beautiful thought, feeling, or action in melodious, rhythmical, and usually metrical language, in imaginative and artistic constructions. Poetry, in a very wide sense, may be anything that pleasingly addresses the imagination, as the poetry of motion. In ordinary usage, poetry is both imaginative and metrical. There may be poetry without rhyme, but hardly without meter, or what in some languages takes its place, as the Hebrew parallelism. But poetry involves, besides the artistic form, the exercise of the fancy or imagination in a way always beautiful, often lofty, or even sublime. Failing this, there may be verse, rhyme, and meter, but not poetry. There is much in literature that is beautiful and sublime in thought, and artistic in construction, which is not yet poetry, because quite devoid of the element of song, whereby poetry differs from the most lofty, beautiful, or impassioned prose. Compare meter. Antonyms: prosaic speech, prosaic writing, prose. End of section 48.